Hey everyone, it's Docfire. Welcome to Docfire's Down and Dirty Reviews. If you're looking for unbiased reviews on Autococker parts and markers, well, you've come to the right place. Because I have to buy this stuff out of my own pocket. Anyway, enjoy the show. And if you have a good time here, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Have a good one. Hey everyone, it's Docfire. It's time for the second half of the Dye Fronted Pneumatics review. In this review, we're going to go over the Dye 2020 LPR. And if you watched the previous view, if you haven't go back and check my my channel notes, and you'll see the Dye 3 review. All right. So I encourage you to watch the first video, but in 2020, I do talk a lot about this, but in 2020, Dye came out with some new pneumatics. The LPR is one of them. I just received mine. They were kind of on back order for a while due to COVID, and I'm kind of excited to kind of go through it. But let's start off with the initial impressions out of the box. So out of the box, or out of the package, you have a package that has essentially two chambers. One holds the LPR, and one is supposed to hold, I think, the barb that comes with it. Mine didn't have one. There's a little hole in the package. It's a really kind of like a hard plastic. So you can see where it kind of popped out and got lost somewhere. It wasn't in the bag. I think it was between the online vendor, or Dye and the online vendor, and its route to them. It got lost. It's not in the rolled. It's a 1032 barb. I have plenty of them, so I'm not going to freak out about it. But for $79.95, I'm kind of I would be disappointed if I didn't get the barb, because you'd have to reuse one of your barbs that you on your other one that may look kind of nasty or whatever. But anyway, it does supposed to come with a barb. Let's kind of talk about initial condition, and I have some goobers on there. Sorry, a little bit of lube. Let me clean this off so we can actually look at the finish. All right, so the anodizing on it it's a gloss black, but I call it a semi-gloss. It's not really shiny for those people that really like that uber gloss look. This is not it. The machining, there isn't any really obvious machining lines that I can see just from looking at it really quickly. These little, I'm going to zoom in here. Sorry, wrong way. These little cuts right here, these little machine marks here, they're sharp. So this obviously, there was no post-processing. If any, there was very little post-processing after this came off the lathe, because this is all sharp. To a point that I can, when I drag it across my fingernail, I'm shaving fingernail material off. You see there, it's that sharp. So that's a good indication. If you can drag that across your fingernail, that's sharp and potentially cut you. So a little disappointed on that, there wasn't some kind of finished tuning on these. I know Dye was trying to get these out pretty quickly, but you know, there's still, this should have been tumble finished at least, and then polished to a little higher luster. The other thing, the body is a three-piece design. So you have the adjuster cap, the main body, and then the 1/8" national MPT, national pipe taper connector that goes into your front block, and it runs a 1/2" a 1/2" hex here. Keep everything in focus. Yeah, it's in focus. 1/2" hex. This is aluminum back here, and so a little concerned with that. That if you get a wrench on this, and you'll start getting wrench marks, so be really careful. Make sure you use wrenches that are really kind of the polished style. This is just a cheap set, but they're actually really polished. Cheaper ones just really had to be sharp and stuff like that. So they're kind of polished on the inside, so they don't really mar up that well. So just be considerate of that. You may want to put some masking tape on your wrench to kind of protect that when you install it. My recommendation is to use Loctite. I use purple Loctite, Vibratite's purple low-strength Loctite, and I screw it in until it's snug, and I try to line my hole up. And on this one, I wouldn't really if it goes and your hole lines up and it just is snug, I'd let that sit and be good with it as long as it seals after it dries. And I'd be good with it. I wouldn't be wrenching another full turn because you start eating into this. And if you guys remember CCM had aluminum 3-way back ends, and they are all tore up. They look like garbage after you take them on and off a lot. So just be considerate when you're installing this or when you're buying it that it is not stainless. Now, like their original ones were stainless, and this makes it a lot more durable. Although these are not interchangeable, I've already checked. It's a whole different valve mechanism on the inside, even different threads here. So just be cognizant of that. So we'll unscrew the cap here. Oh, by the way, this is with the cap all the way screwed in. It's going to have that little gap there. And then the unscrewing the cap, it has a friction O-ring in here. And then eventually you get past that friction O-ring. Look inside there. It's interesting. You do have in the cap, let's go over the cap real quick. You have some holes here where you can run a wrench in here and turn the cap if you need to. Several holes in there. But it's this does not pass through. So if you get shot here in the front and paint gets in here, it's not going to go all the way into here. They get in the light here. They have a hole that goes through here, a little tiny hole, and that's enough to just allow everything to vent out. So you're not going to, if you get shot in the cap, it's probably not going to blow in here. And it's not a really big deal because all it does is get to the spring. It's not the end of the world. So with that, cap off to the side. I'm going to zoom out. Well, no, I'll leave it here. Here's the spring. It's a coil spring. It looks like with the cadmium. I guess it's that kind of goldish finish, which helps with corrosion. The ground faces on them they're fairly smooth. Look like it actually looks like a nice high quality spring, which I always kind of look at this. But this is for an autococker. The LPR isn't as important for any velocity stuff. It's really only for caulking and for basically running that bolt and recaulking the system. So it looks like to be a fairly quality spring there. And then inside, you have a brass piston. Now, as much as I tap this way, that brass piston is not going to come out. Okay, so to service this, if it was on the market, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So this is on the marker. You have to unscrew the body from this mounting part. And to get to the O-rings on the piston, okay? So the piston can't come out the front. You can't put a screw into it like some other companies have where you can put a 1032 screw and slide it out in maintenance. Everything with this on the gun. You physically have to take your barb off because your barb is going to hit your 3-way as you unscrew it. Unscrew this. Now, they do put a hole in here to allow you to put an Allen in here, and if it's tight, give you a little bit of leverage. Okay, so you're going to unscrew it, and you'll have the valve mechanism. This will stay on the marker, and then, all right, I need to tap it out. I can just push it out. Oh, I can just push it out. And in here is quite a heavy piston. So here we have a piston, and it looks like it's like a dowel style lube on it. 2 O-rings. I haven't seen what the size of these O-rings are. Let's see if I can pop one off here. So with a little pick. Sorry for my hand going in the shot. Looks like about either a 15, something like that, and it feels like a 70 durometer. So the standard durometer. And so the pistons got a little indentation in the top. That's to help line it up. Come on, focus. Line it up on the valve mechanism, and then everything else just a heavy brass valve. They probably could have, I don't know, taken a lot of weight out of that. But anyway, put this back in here. Slides back in there, and then let's look at the actual mechanism here. And like I said, it's a 1/2 inch for the back one, and then I think it's 9/16. No, it's not 9/16. I don't know what size it is for that. Oh, I could do it with my fingers. It's a crescent wrench. I don't think it's half-inch. Maybe it is. Oh, no, it is half-inch. It's half-inch for both. So you half-inch for this nut here and half-inch for the back. So you need 2 half-inch wrenches. And then as you pull this apart, this would stay on the gun. And then you have the spring, the stainless steel poppet, and then their reg seat. And the reg seat is you can flip it over, which is nice. And it's a urethane style reg seat. And it's apparently the same reg seat. Zoom in here. I should just move it up here. It's the same reg seat that they use on their regulators, their newer regulators that have the reg seat that has a hole in it. It's the vent hole. And they use for their LPRs on their pneumatic guns. So that's how that works. It's pretty simple. So the LPR on this is the same concept as a Palmer's LPR, as a ShockTech FGR or FGP, and a somewhat the same as an Inception Designs or Resurrection or AKA, which those LPRs are a balanced poppet style. This is just a poppet style regulator. And then obviously the sledgehammer regulator, which is not in production more, is a moving base regulator, more consistent with the kind of standard regulators that are out here like that. So for this, I actually like poppet style regulators. I think they have a lot of advantages. Now the curiosity is if there's enough volume in here, which is a pretty large chamber, to make sure that you're going to have enough volume to operate your RAM. It's pretty large, so I'm assuming that there's more than enough, and you're not going to have any of those issues like that. So it's really easy to take apart, put back together, and there we go. So pros and cons on the LPR. So let's start with price. So at $79.95 for dies, for this one right here, Inception Designs is $79.99, so it's essentially 4 cents more. And then you have the ShockTech for $59.99. And then you have Palmer's. And Palmer's has their mini LPR, their smaller one, and then they have their normal full-size one. Their mini is $61.98, and their full-size is $75.64. So the cheapest out of all of them in cost-wise is ShockTech, and the most expensive is Inception Designs by 4 cents. So die and Inception are the most expensive. I would say if I were, I haven't tried the performance of this, but let's talk a little bit about serviceability. Okay, so on a Inception Designs regulator, serviceability is all done with O-rings. Okay, standard O-rings that you can get in any O-ring kit, or most O-ring kits. All right, ShockTech's serviceability is standard O-rings minus they use a Schrader valve as their poppet valve, and they use an aircraft grade Schrader valve for aircraft tires, really high pressure, like 5,000 psi or something like that. And so I've had some ShockTech ones that just failed. So it is a part that isn't readily available in an O-ring kit, obviously. And then Palmer's Pursuit, standard O-rings with their custom cut urethane reg seat. So the only one out there that is a non-proprietary version is Inception Designs that you can be fixed on the field. If any of the parts go bad on it, you can fix any of the O-rings, any of the seals, with standard O-rings in an O-ring kit. This one, if it were to go bad on you, the reg seat, you can flip it over. So you have, it should be able to get you through the game, okay? Technically, you can flip it over. Now, this reg seat, yeah, you can flip it over. As long as it's not degraded through the wrong lubricant used and it's destroyed that reg seat. And then some people may have a die kit in them. ShockTech's, you have to buy the Schraders. And what I found with ShockTech's, usually they get a little piece of dirt in there. and you take that shredder out and you just clean it. So you just kind of flush it off with some oil or whatever and clean it. Sometimes that will solve the problem. And then Palmers, quite frankly, the only O-rings I ever go bad in the Palmers are their Piston O-rings, which are standard O-ring, or 1112, I think, or 113, I can't remember. Their reg seats just tend to last. I've had really good. Whatever urethane you use, whatever material they use, just really lasts for a long time. So I can't speak. This is a new design. I don't know how long it's going to last, so we'll have to find out there. When you kind of look at costs with serviceability, Inception Designs hits the top, and then I would say Palmer's and ShockTech. The other three are kind of in the middle, with ShockTech being the least expensive of those. Okay, not the cheapest, the least expensive. Now, let's come to fit and finish. I have ShockTech stuff, I have Inception stuff, and I have Palmer stuff. The finish on this is very similar to Palmer's finish, so it's equal to that. It doesn't even come close to Inception Design's finish. Their glosses and their mattes are definitely a separation, and they blow this out of the water. The milling, not the pattern. I'm fine with the pattern. I like the looks of it. I like that you have good grip here. It's the finish work is to be desirable. Okay, I do like how, compared to the ShockTech has a knob, and same with the Palmers, they have a knob with a screw. I like how the Inception and the dies have this cap on the end. I think it's just a little cleaner look, but it doesn't break how it performs. Performance-wise, I haven't tested it. I really haven't noticed a big difference between LPRs and performance-wise, although that the Palmers, aka three ways, and the Inception or Empire three ways for the Resurrection, essentially all the same design. They tend to, since they're a balanced poppet, they tend to have less shock in the system, and which I don't know if you see that. So as this regulator does its thing, the main regulator is doing its thing, and then the valve is doing its thing. There's a little bit of like reverb shock as things are closing, valve bounce, or whatever you want to call it. And I've noticed that when I've done my testing, and that's why my testing of my regulators, the main regulators, that's why I take the LPR out of the system, because I want to see what it looks like, how the regulator performs without the LPR affecting it. So they can have a little effect. Is it a downstream effect on the paintball marker? Probably not. And if it is, it's probably not that noticeable. So give him and take. Simon wants me to do the test on his LPR. I just haven't got to it. Let's see if there's a difference. So build quality. Like I said, the machining is, to me, it's, as the top price-wise, as the top two, I don't think this is worthy of being a top. I would say this needs to more compete at that $59.99 level, and if they were to make this stainless steel in the back, and they were to kind of soften up some of this hard machine, or basically just finish the machining process with it, then I would say the $79.95 is warranted, outside of performance concerns, if it's going to work or not. And hopefully they didn't send a brass. Hopefully it's nickel. I've seen photos of brass ones. I'm hoping those are pre-production. I'm hoping it's nickel so it matches. If it's brass, then I would say it's not worthy of the $79.95. And quite frankly, folks, this is actually pretty heavy, which I'm fine with. I like a heavier autococker. But for all the wait time, which is not, it's out of their control, so I can't say that. For the price and the fact that packaging was damaged, lost the part, I don't know whose fault that is. I'm not going to blame either one, but it did happen. It happened between die or the dealer. For $79.95, it's made in Taiwan. Quite frankly, I know this. The profit margin's got to be stupid ridiculous on this. I mean, stupid ridiculous compared to something made in the USA. And it was ShockTech, and I'm pretty confident ShockTech's made the all 100% USA. Don't quote me on that. I'm just pretty confident. And they're at $59.99, and they're making money. Or maybe they're still selling them. I don't think. Why would you do it if you're not making money? Right? I think they could have come in at a lower price point and kind of blown the people out of the water. So, but everything, the machining surfaces and all the pro components on this feel all right. But we will do some testing of these. I will put both of these items up on the chopping block, up on a Autococker. I'm going to use a free flow ram on it because that's how we're seeing it come from free flow. Well, this is not a free flow product. And we'll see how it functions. If I notice anything weird or something like that. But with that, Dogfire's out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. Thanks, guys, for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. And once again, these are unbiased reviews because I pay for this crap out of my pocket. All right, guys, have a good one.